Look.
Pac-Man 2? I don't remember that one. Huh. You know, I think it's safe to say that Pac-Man is one of my favorite video game characters of all time, mostly due to my love for Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures. I remember playing that game for the very first time as a kid at my grandparents' house in Wisconsin. I think I enjoyed it so much that they either bought a copy for me to take home or they gave me their copy of the game. I can't remember exactly as it was a long time ago. I just remember owning that game shortly after we visited them. So imagine my surprise when this Pac-Man title for the Super Nintendo went way under my radar, well into my adulthood. All I know is that if it's anything like Pac-Man 2, it could very well be one of my favorite video games of all time. So let's check it out, shall we? So the game starts out much like any other from the 16-bit era with some kind of zany half-witted plot that only the 90s of video games could ever endure. Whoa, our hero Pac-Man hasn't always been the cool video game dude we know and love! It sounds like a tagline for some kind of poster. The 90s, where a video game character apparently can't be as cool as you think they are. It's radical, bro! Anyways, apparently this game very vaguely references the events that happened in Pac-Man 2, which just makes me appreciate that game even more. That's really creepy. You know, it's really nice to see Pac-Man enjoying time with his family again. Everything is peaceful, nothing bad is happening, and there's not a ghost in sight. But then, seemingly out of nowhere... Oh no! It's the Ghost Witch Lady just like from Pac-Man 2! And oh baby, did she get a makeover! She went all Michael Jackson-y and decided her skin tone just wasn't for her. So after being fed up with Pac-Man for, I don't know, being Pac-Man? She decided to cast a forbidden spell, which sent Pac-Man hurtling through time. And by hurtling through time, I mean she sent him back to the 1970s. Yeah, like, okay, you could have sent him back to any time period you wanted, you know, but instead you sent him back 5 years before his arcade cabinet releases worldwide and ushers in a new era of gaming. You only send him back 5 years? Instead of a ghost witch, I feel like I'm dealing with more of a dope witch, because she's just all like... So now after being turtles in time, Pac-Man has to make his way to a time portal in order to go back to his own time period, which is being guarded by the ever-fearful Gum Monster. I'm not entirely sure why that's supposed to be scary, because like, just look at how dopey he was in Pac-Man 2. Yeah, I'm not really worried about him, especially if he still looks like this. So the game starts off and whoa! This game is a platformer? You know, I think there were a few kind of spin-off Pac-Man games for the 16-bit home consoles that tried to do something out of the ordinary for Pac-Man's character besides the arcade game we all know and love. I know there was Pac-Attack, which was more of a Tetris-style puzzle game, and obviously there was Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures with its somewhat of a point-and-click / interactive cartoon style, with the last Pac-Man related game of that era being Pac-in-Time. So with this game, it's kind of like Namco is trying their luck at a multitude of different genres for the good old Pac to try and see if something would stick, of which apparently Pac-Man was already headed towards a more platformer-oriented style with the Pac-Man World games taking the stride into that direction. I think it's safe to say that knowing Pac-Man started his venture into platforming on the Super Nintendo makes me a proud Pac-Man fan. Anyways, enough with the riff-raff and the hoity-toity and such. Let's move on to the actual game before you guys decide to click off this video and watch something that all the cool kids are into, like Back to the Future, or Roadhouse, or Wham! I don't know why I keep making references to other time periods today. I guess you could say I got sent back in time. Welcome to the jungle, baby! Say your prayers, brother! In terms of how the game works, it feels pretty weird. Pac-Man is super bouncy in how he controls. His jump is one of the strangest things, as he gets more air if you do a second bounce, Most of the time this results in you holding down the jump button so you can always get as much air as possible. But because he's so bouncy and hard to control, if you bump into anything at all besides where you want to go, he'll just go all over the place. In a way, he basically controls kind of like a basketball. Bounce him once, it'll just do an awkward little flop. Bounce him more than once, it'll get some wicked, sick air, brah. Difficult controls aside, Pac-Man has a variety of power-ups he can use to get through each level. He has a hammer he can swing to break down certain objects and parts of the level, a bubble power-up that allows him to swim underwater and blow bubbles so hard that they kill any underwater enemies, some kind of weird yellow Hadouken where Pac-Man grunts like a child whenever it's used, and a grappling hook, which, if I may add, makes this look more like a certain music video more so than a video game. I came in like a wrecking ball. I never hit so hard in love. The first several levels, despite the tough controls, are actually playable and kind of fun. The environments look pretty decent and don't stray on the eyes while playing, which keeps them fresh and enjoyable. All the power-ups are fun to use, including the grappling hook. You can have a whole bunch of fun just Spider-Man-ing around the stage instead of trying to actually beat the level. And the levels are short and sweet to get through, so let's hope this continues well into the next several stages. Huh, the forest, eh? Well, I was just at the mountain, surely things will be alright. Oh! Okay, stop! Just stop! Time out! Hold on! Jesus! Oh my God! What happened? Okay. Let's start from the top. During the first stage, the controls were workable because there weren't any kind of traps out to get you. There were enemies, sure, but they were very manageable to approach and take care of as they normally only needed a hit or two to kill. Every single stage from this point on has hidden booby traps and harder to kill enemies, which really makes controlling Pac-Man a pain. Mostly because he still bounces around everywhere like he's trying to join the goddamn Harlem Globetrotters. But now considering anything and everything once you dead, bouncing off stuff is a death wish just waiting to happen, as dribbling all over the place, whether it's on purpose or on accident, is a surefire way to die when there's death lurking around each individual vine or bush or glory hole in the floor? Guys, this game is too strong, it hurts when you touch it. Stay away! Stay away! Not only is controlling Pac-Man pretty bad, but the stages became longer and far more intricate. Do you see this number down in the corner? This is the number of dots Pac-Man has to collect before the exit door can open. Why does the exit door need dots? Because it's just like the arcade game, right? Right? Because that'll totally work in a platformer, right? That'll totally work in a platformer! It doesn't. During the first world, it only needed about 20 dots to open the exit door, and that seemed like the perfect number to me, because it only took a few minutes to find as they were decently spread out together. How many is needed now? 50. 50 dots. This essentially elongates the level to feel like the game has become more of a maze than a platformer, because there's dots spread out everywhere. Sometimes there will only be one in a certain location, which is just obnoxious because collecting individual dots takes a long time, especially with levels that are already huge. There are also some certain areas of the stage that only give you one or two of the power-ups, leaving you to your own devices to make it to these weird spinning rings which contain the power-up that you're missing. Unfortunately, most of the time this means the grappling hook gets taken away, which instantly makes this game not fun as a whole, because the grappling hook is one of the main mechanics of the entire game. It's just about absolutely necessary to have. Why would they take that away? Just why? After playing for so long, the only thing you care about in the entire world is to collect the dots and leave. Nothing else matters, and that's how the game makes you feel. You just collect all the dots, leave, and repeat. This game will test your patience with its repetitive nature, and it doesn't change. It just keeps going. I really wish I could say that I enjoyed playing through the forest world, but it became so frustrating to play through. There were traps everywhere, dots in seemingly random locations, and a level design so bad, I did it! I beat the forest world! Oh my God, this game oh my God, why? Why this game? You know what? I gotta keep playing. I gotta know what's at the end. I have to know. Just for my own edification, I have to know. I gotta keep playing. Unfortunately, after beating all the 4 stages, there's still a few worlds left within this Conflabbed cartridge, so we're not done yet. First, there's the Forbidden Palace, which is a bland and uneventful temple. Then there's the Pac Village, which is apparently where Pac-Man grew up. And then finally, there's the Evil Castle, which beholds Pac-Man's ticket home, but is unfortunately being held captive by the gruesome Gum Monster. Yep, no, I'm not scared of him still. I'm not scared of him. Honestly, the rest of these worlds pretty much play out the same, as all the problems from the 4 stages maintain throughout the rest of the game. The levels are huge and take a long time to complete, as finding every single dot on the map takes much longer than necessary. There are traps and enemies that will take you by surprise and frustrate you alongside the level design, which is the game's biggest fault besides the controls, and is overly complicated and a mess to play through. Just for example, there's a level in the forest world where there are leaves floating around. At first I thought it was a nice little addition to the presentation of the game, but after getting stuck in the level and running out of ideas on how to progress, I jumped onto the leaf and floated through the background to get where I needed to go. Like, I had no idea that I could do this. The game never even gave me any kind of indication of being able to do this. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't expect it to hold my hand and be like, oh hey, here's how you solve everything, but like, you gotta give me something, game. And what's worse is like, this is the only area of the entire game where something like this exists, so like, why is this here? What is the point? It made me feel like I was some guy sitting at the window seat on an airplane, but I had to bother the person next to me so I could get up and go to the bathroom. Just, excuse me, Mother Nature, I just gotta slip on by here. Okay, thanks. Another part that had me stumped was in some level of the temple world, where there's this plug that's holding water from flowing. Initially, I thought hitting it with a hammer would knock it out of place, but nope. I was absolutely clueless on what to do for a long time until I tried using the grappling hook, which, well, fine! But then, and I'm not even kidding, one of the very next levels has a similar situation, except for this time, the hammer can knock off the cork. Well, you could just go fuck yourself! It is such a shame to see one of my favorite video game characters entrenched in this soul-sucking experience of a video game. Nothing about it is fun. It's difficult for all the wrong reasons, which has completely ruined the experience and frustrated me to no end. I wouldn't say that this game is absolutely 100% terrible, but it's most definitely incredibly repetitive, infuriating, and most of all disappointing. But you know, out of all the things, I definitely have to say that this game is— Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not done with Pac-in-Time yet. I still have to beat the Gum Monster. I mean, I'm at the end of the game, so I may as well finish what I started, but that should be no problem at all, considering I whooped his butt before and I'll do it again right here, right now. Alright, Pac-in-Time, you have my attention. It took you the whole entire game to attain it, but Jesus Christ, do you have it now. Just look at this guy. Look at what they did to him. Look at what he's doing. He's throwing like potatoes at me in spikes. And he's floating on a raft. On a raft! God, I hope I'm not going crazy. But I can worry about that later. I have a boss to kill! And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Pac-in-Time. He gets sent back home to his family in his normal time period in the mid-90s, and the Ghost Witch's plans have been foiled yet again. The end. This is not a good game. At least it's not a good game to me. For the very first ever Pac-Man platformer, at least I think it was the first one, it ended up having a lot of kinks in it, which just made it a frustrating and bad experience. But even though this is a poop game, it didn't kill Pac-Man as a character, as his legacy continued to change and evolve over time, which makes sense, and apparently that worked, as he appeared in one of gaming's most beloved franchises in Super Smash Bros, and has a more modern TV show and games based around that show. You know, after playing this game, I've realized that there's nothing wrong with change. As much as it pains me to admit, I know I'll probably never see a game like Pac-Man 2: The New Adventures ever again. I love that game to bits, but Pac-Man has moved on to greener pastures, and maybe after all of this, I will too.